Go.
As Americans, we have been given the right by our founding fathers to own and bear arms. In other words, the majority of the citizens of this country can legally own and use guns. Our founding fathers knew the importance of protecting those things that we hold dear, our homes, our possessions, and most of all, our families. Currently in our country, there is a debate raging about that right. Many people are concerned about the increasing incidence of gun violence. They feel the pain of those who have lost loved ones and want to do anything to prevent that from happening to someone else. But is taking guns away from everyone really going to make us safer? We have all seen the news reports about home invasions, shootings in malls and shopping centers and movie theaters, and of course the devastating accounts of innocent children being shot in their classrooms. Our first reaction is to want to rid our streets and our country of the guns that can be used to commit such atrocious acts. But we need to also look at a few other things as well. Yes, the statistics are grim. According to the FBI, in 2011, there were over 1,600,000 burglaries committed and almost 15,000 murders. Sobering numbers, but how many of these acts could have been prevented if the victims or witnesses or anyone had been armed and ready to defend innocent lives? There are many stories, many of which can be found on the internet, of would-be victims who were prepared to defend themselves and ready to fight back. Their quick thinking and preparedness saved their lives and the lives of many others. We have the right to protect those that we love. We have the right to stand up to those that would do them harm. We of course have many options when faced with attack. We can call the police. They are there to protect us after all. But for those who live in rural areas, or simply just more than a few blocks away from the nearest police station, by the time they get there, it may be too late. Of course, we can hide or even run from the scene, but what if neither of these options presents itself? What if the intruder finds you? Then what do you do? We can be ready and willing to defend ourselves and those we love. One way to do this is to own and be trained to use a gun. This is a very serious decision and not one to be taken lightly, but one that can be very effective. According to Outdoor Life magazine, when there is an interaction between a criminal and an armed victim, shots were fired in 80% of the incidents. In these cases, the most common reaction from the attacker was to flee unless they were unable to physically do so. Even just coming face to face with an armed citizen, with an armed would-be victim, is often enough to make the assailant change their minds. And according to the National Center for Polity Analysis, since residents of Texas were given the right to carry concealed weapons, the crime rate there has plummeted. The rate went from 644.2 per 100,000 to 561. John R. Lott, the author of More Guns, Less Crime, states that for each additional year that a concealed handgun law is in effect, the murder rate declines by 3% and robberies by over 2%. Those who would commit the crimes in the first place are less likely to do so if there's a chance that their intended victim may be armed. Another concern when there are guns involved is the chance that it will be used accidentally against someone we love. Sadly, there are many accounts of accidental shootings, often including children as the shooter, the victim, or both. These kinds of tragedies should be acknowledged, but we also need to recognize that many of them can be avoided with the proper preparation and training. Many states have places to go to obtain training, not just in the actual shooting of the gun, but in things like keeping others safe in an emergency, how to determine how vulnerable your home is, how to choose the appropriate gun for you, storing weapons appropriately, and how to determine when it is necessary to use your weapon. I'd like to share this short clip with you.
Brian, a terrifying situation for a woman trying to protect herself against a home invader. For more than 10 minutes, Donna Jackson was on the phone with the 911 operator saying she did not want to shoot the guy who was coming in her house.
Please put the back patio door again. Back again, leg it again. I don't want to have to kill this man, but I'll kill him if you're a dead man. I understand. All right.
Finally, the man entered the home. The phone dropped, and then there was a single shot.
Manager, I shot him going out front. I hit him. God help me. Okay, stay on and sit down and then
the suspected intruder who was killed had a long history of drug and alcohol-related convictions.
This woman did all the right things. She armed herself. She called the police right away. She did not confront the intruder. But when she had no choice, she took action to defend herself. She was on the phone for over 10 minutes. Had she simply waited for the police to arrive, by the time they got there, it would have been too late. Had she remained hidden, the intruder could have found her and caused her harm. But because she lived in a place where owning and using a gun were her legal right, she was able to come out of that encounter physically unharmed. Not everyone wants to own a gun, and nobody wants to think that there may come a day that they have to choose to harm another human being in order to save innocent lives. But that's a choice that should be ours to make, and the government should not have the right to take that choice away from us. Thank you.